All right, welcome to today's mobility session. Today we are going to focus on hips, and we'll start finding a comfortable position, lying down, facing up, taking some nice, deep, intentional breaths, finding yourself a nice, calm headspace, breathing deep into the belly and directing that air in through the nose and slowly out through the nose. And just find your own pace. Sometimes it's helpful to count your breaths. Count the seconds in, or might be a box breath, 4 seconds in, 4-second hold, 4-second exhale. As your lungs let go of air, let your quads, your hamstrings, your glutes, everything around that midsection just completely deflate, like they're also letting go of air. Let's take one more long breath in here, and we'll sigh out that breath. And we'll start today's session with a little quad release work. So a few options here. You can use a kettlebell, you can use your fingers. We're going to demonstrate the lacrosse ball version. So face down on your lacrosse ball, and your quadriceps are a big muscle group. There's a lot of different areas that can carry tension, and what carries tension is really going to depend on your own anatomy, your own activity level, your injury history. So do some digging, looking for your carrying tension in that quad. It might be right around the mid muscle, in that medial area. It could be on the outside, the lateral area. And once you find that area of high tension, focus back on your breath and let that quad get nice and soft on the exhales. Keeping a nice relaxed headspace, letting that leg get heavy on top of that object, just to get a nice pressure release. And we'll take one more long, slow, big breath on this side. We'll sigh that out, and we'll switch to the opposite side. And let's do some panning on this side to start out. It might be tight in the same areas. It might be tight in totally different areas. It might be more sensitive or less sensitive. So just be aware of that. Be aware of what needs attention and how much pressure we need. We really just want pressure release. Shouldn't be any significant pain. We want to be able to mentally stay in a happy place and let this be an enjoyable experience. And let's keep our attention on your breath. And it's helpful to think about keeping your lungs synced to the target tissue. So as your lungs let go of air, let that tension float away. And still breathing in through the nose every chance you get. And slowly exhaling. And when we can, directing that air deep. Like imagine your belly's absorbing that air. And we'll take one more long, slow, relaxing breath in here. We'll sigh out that breath. And move back to your original side. This time we'll focus more on the hip flexor area. And this is somewhat choose your own adventure. It might just be the same area you just worked on in that quad that might need a second layer of attention. Otherwise, let's go a little higher into that quad, into that hip flexor. It may not be necessarily in the crease. And just looking for tension. Might be a trigger point. Might be a knot in that area. Something that feels like it's got more tension than the rest of the tissue around it. And once you've found that area of tension, keeping your attention on your breath, directing that air deep in the lower lungs, feeling those lower ribs expand, feeling that belly expand as you breathe in, and controlling it slowly on the way out through the nose. Keeping a nice relaxed headspace, mentally staying in your happy place, just letting that tension float away. Let's go ahead and take one more breath and switch sides into your opposite hip flexor. These are somewhat choose your own adventure. So we're looking for areas of tension. We're not so worried about the specific muscle. We're worried about how it feels when we hit that area. So again, not any area of extreme pain. Could be some discomfort, but the stimulus that we're looking for is relieving tension. Sometimes it does take a good amount of pressure to relieve it, but doing your best to stay nice and calm mentally. And one of the best strategies to staying calm is just keeping that attention on your breath. Directing that air deep and controlling it. Generally, when we slow our breath down, that helps us relax. But just mentally staying in your happy place, letting your body find calm, and letting everything slow down. Let's take one more breath here. We'll sigh out that breath and move into a little lumbar traction. So if this is a new exercise for you, do it with some caution. What we're looking for is pressure release. We don't want any pain. And there's a few different variations of this. The simplest version is just propping yourself up on an edge, like we're demonstrating on a box, and letting your legs just get heavy. Just mentally visualizing that lower spine lengthening to improve the space in between those discs, to give your joints a little bit of breathing room around that pelvis and lower spine, mentally staying relaxed and letting just enough pressure go. We've got that pressure release without any layer of pain. And again, we'll take one more breath here. We'll sigh that out. We'll come back to the mat, step one leg forward into a lunge position, into a dragon pose. So our focus here is on the hip flexor and quad area. And mentally, we just want to relax. Let the hips slowly fall forward and down to feel that lengthening sensation. In the next few seconds here, we'll gently get active. So as we get active through dragon, imagine shrinking the space between your lead heel and your knee. And we'll start nice and easy. So flexing through the glutes to gently pull yourself out of that stretch slightly. And big tension for the last few. 3, 2, 1. And let's gently reverse that. Gently squeeze and pressing yourself deeper into that stretch, ramping up that tension as we go. Big tension for the last 5, 3, 2, 1. Big breath out and relax and fall back into that passive pose. And you may find you're a little deeper than when we started. If the tissue's a little stubborn and we're not quite there, that's okay. Just letting your body fall wherever it falls naturally, not forcing the stretch. If we can get deeper, it's by relaxing, not by forcing. And I'll take one more long, deep breath. Feel that belly rise on the inhale. We'll sigh that out and we'll switch sides. So stepping your opposite leg forward, taking the attention to the hip flexor and quad on your opposite leg. And again, we want to feel that natural lengthening sensation and just be aware of what that stretch is doing in terms of the stimulus. It might be a little uncomfortable, but we don't want any pain. And just use your breath to slowly let that hip flexor and quad relax. We're carrying less tension. And we'll get active here slightly in a few seconds. Starting nice and easy. Let's gently flex through that hip flexor to resist the stretch, gradually ramping up tension as we go. And let's go big tension here for the last 5, 3, 2, 1, and let's slowly reverse that. Gently push yourself deeper into that stretch, squeezing through the glutes, ramping up as we go, adding tension throughout. Big tension here for the last 5, 3, 2, 1. Let's sigh out that breath, fall back into your passive pose, and just submit to the stretch. Challenge yourself to find a deeper position by relaxing, not by force. Again, breathing through the nose every chance we get. And we'll take one more long, slow breath in. We'll sigh out that breath. And we'll move to a seated fold. So sitting with your legs extended out in front, letting that torso fall towards your feet and ankles. And we don't need anything forceful here. Let gravity do most of the work, using your breath to relax through the hamstrings, those muscles in behind the knees and through the glutes. And you might find you get deeper as we go, but try not to force anything. And in about 10 seconds, we'll get active here again. So it's like we're gently reversing this stretch, like we're sitting ourselves up or pressing the heels into the floor or a bit of both. And let's go ahead. You can grab onto your ankles for support if you need it, gently pressing the heels down, extending your torso up, gradually ramping up that tension. Big tension for the last 5, 3, 2, 1, and reverse. Now gently pulling yourself deeper into that stretch. Use the hip flexors, keep the quads on, use your abs to pull yourself down. Pain-free range of motion. Let's ramp up that tension a little higher towards the end. 3, 2, 1. Big breath out, relax, fall back into that passive pose, and let that torso fall wherever it falls. Again, if we find a deeper position in the stretch, it's by relaxing, not by forcing. Nice, slow, controlled, relaxing breaths. One more long, slow inhale. Long, slow, relaxing exhale. And let's move into a frog pose. So in frog, we just spread the knees apart and go face down towards the mat, taking our attention on the inner thigh, adductor area, and spreading the knees as far as is comfortable. And as we breathe, we're thinking about relaxing through the inner thighs and groin adductor areas. In about 10 seconds, we'll gently activate again. And as we activate here, thinking about pressing into the floor and trying to pull the knees closer together gently. And we'll go ahead, starting nice and easy, adding some tension into those adductors and gradually ramping up that tension. And big tension for the last 5, really squeeze. 3, 2, 1, and let's reverse. Think about squeezing your outer thighs to pull yourself deeper into that stretch. Slowly ramping up tension and squeezing a little harder. Big tension for the last 5, 3, 2, 1. Big breath out, relax, fall back into that passive pose, letting the hips fall wherever they fall. Centering yourself back on your breathing and mentally just staying in your happy place. We'll take one more breath here, long, slow inhale. We'll sigh out that breath and we'll move into a little hip counter rotation. So in hip counter rotation, we go into reverse tabletop. Knees and legs are bent at 90 degrees. And we're going to take your hands on opposite sides of your knees and push and resist. So imagine trying to move your knees in opposite directions and using your hips to resist, pausing for a 3 count and switching back and forth. So starting with pretty easy force, just gradually ramping up that tension as we go. Each rep, just squeeze a little harder. And we'll stick your fists in between your knees, just gently squeeze into those fists, activating those groin muscles, adductors, and keep pulsing on and off. And let's flip over into a tabletop and do some hip circles. Starting from that tabletop, pulling that knee in towards your chest, gently moving that knee out in a fire hydrant motion, and gently pressing that heel up to the sky, and then starting that circle again. See if we can get a little deeper into that, those positions, those corners, to create stability in those end range positions through the hips. And we'll just finish off this last circle we're working on. Come back to tabletop and we'll work on the opposite side. So pulling that knee again into your chest, adducting it out to the side, and then moving into full hip extension, and then starting by pulling that knee back into your chest. And this is at your own pace, in your own range, just trying to feel out new range. And we will finish off this side. And when you're back into tabletop, we will call it a day. Thanks so much for coming out today, guys. If you enjoyed this session, don't forget to subscribe and like, and we'll see you again next time. Have a great day.